I wanted to thank you for joining me on this episode of Doing Insurance Right. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host. I'm a local farmers insurance agent here in Phoenix, Arizona. And today I just wanted to revisit the auto policy. There seems to be a lot of questions lately on what particular things that you have, don't have, or what you may understand about the auto policy. As a lot of people are taking time to actually read it during these COVID days, it's kind of slowed everything down just a bit. So just wanted to go through that with you. There's going to be some main categories. That's going to be basically your coverage, a lot of your coverages, dollar amount wise. That's going to be your bodily injury, property damage, uninsured, and underinsured motorist. Basically, so your bodily injury is going to be, there's a lot of different variations of that, but let's just say it's 100,000 slash 300,000. What that means is up to one person, up to $100,000 total. If there's multiple people on that same incident, up to $300,000 total. So basically, that's going to be the dollar amount the insurance company is willing to pay for injury if you're at fault and you injure someone else. So, for example, if their hospital bills total 122,000 and there was only one person, then the insurance company is liable up to $100,000 after your deductible. So in that particular instance, let's say you had a $1,000 deductible, you would pay the $1,000, they would pay the $100,000, and then any excess over the $100,000, they would also pay that as well. So just wanted to kind of make sure that you're liable for that portion. And today, with the amount of dollars that medicine costs, hospitals, riding an ambulance, it doesn't take long if someone's injured to get up to $100,000 just on one person. So, for example, a few years ago, I was in the hospital for 4 days, and that was not due to injuries; it was just an illness, and my hospital bill was over the 100,000. The next part I wanted to go over with you is going to be property damage. Okay, so this is going to be property damage that you damage at an at-fault accident. So for example, let's say you hit some other vehicles and some other things along the road. That dollar amount there is whatever you have for property damage. So typically on a 100,000, 300,000 policy, you're going to see probably at least $50,000 or $100,000 worth of property damage coverage. This one overall, I will tell you, is really not that expensive overall in the policy. So I would suggest getting as much as you can depending upon what your bodily injury limits are. So if, for example, typically a company's not going to let you get 100,000, 300,000, and then $500,000 worth of property damage. It's going to be under that 300,000. But I would probably recommend getting 250. With the price of cars these days, it gets pretty pricey pretty quick, especially if any of those are totaled out. So just want to make sure that you have plenty of property damage coverage. The next two are gonna go together for the most part. One is uninsured, so that means the other person has no insurance. Let's say they hit you, they have no insurance. This will give you some coverage there. And the second part is going to be underinsured. So for example, if they hurt you in an accident, they don't have enough insurance or any money after the fact, then this will also help take care of your injuries. So like in a 100,000, 300,000 scenario, a lot of times you're going to see that same bodily injury coverage on your uninsured and underinsured. It's a good thing to have uninsured and underinsured. This is how you have to look at it. So for example, if you got hurt, now let's say your health insurance kicked in, how many dollars do you, or what's your max out of pocket for the year? Is it 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 20,000? So I would want to definitely make sure I have enough coverage for those. The other part is too, if you have people riding in your car and they don't have, let's say they don't have medical insurance, you would want to make sure that you have coverage for them as well because they're riding in your vehicle. So just another thing to keep in mind there. There's also going to be a lot of other things throughout the auto policy we want to kind of touch base on really quick. So the first one's going to be comprehensive and your collision deductibles. These can be different amounts or different per car if you have multiple cars on your policy. Okay, so for example, your collision coverage is going to be your deductible on a collision That's going to be your deductible. So a collision is going to be you hit somebody and then you have an out of pocket. Let's say you don't hit somebody, but you clip somebody or you hit the garage, for example. That's a collision. It's just not with another car. It's also with objects as well if it's deemed at your fault. So on that particular instance there, whatever your collision deductibles, let's say $1,000, for example, you would be responsible for the first $1,000 out of your pocket. Comprehensive is going to be other than collision. So for an example, if you hit an animal and it causes damage to the vehicle, let's say hail, your windshield, so on and so forth, that's going to be under your comprehensive deductible. So whatever that deductible is what you're responsible for first. Now, there are endorsements that come on the policy as well. You can see things like accident forgiveness. So basically where it won't, if you have an accident, it won't tack onto your premiums the next time around. It's typically a one-time on that one. The only problem I have with accident forgiveness is you're paying for yourself having an accident in the future. Why not just save that money back and use it towards a future time in case you do have an at-fault accident? Some others are going to be like declining deductible. So for example, with farmers, we do have declining deductibles. It breeds a lot of people staying with the company, therefore, because their deductible keeps going down year by year without any at-faults. So it's something in that thing. A big one here in Arizona is going to be what they call a safety glass waiver, which is basically going to be glass on the vehicle where it goes to $0 deductible, so zero out of pocket. So what it does is it works off your comprehensive, because glass is going to be a comprehensive claim. And then there's going to be, for example, crack in the windshield is going to be a $0 $0 out of pocket to you. There is a charge inside the policy itself for that, but with the price of windshields and the amount of rocks we deal with, it's almost criminal not to have it on an auto policy here. Some other ones you're going to see are towing and roadside and labor. Definitely recommend that one. It's relatively inexpensive. A lot of people talk about AAA. You can obviously have that if you'd like. They have their separate membership for that. But there's a lot of different ways throughout the companies. Some companies have limits on how much they'll tow to or tow from, or all that type of stuff. Most companies, though, are not going to allow you to probably have more than 3 times or 3 incidents on the towing and roadside per year. If they do, a lot of times they'll take towing and roadside and not make that available in the future. Some other ones are going to be rental car reimbursement. Some are as low as $20 a day. I would highly recommend you take a look at that. I don't know about you, but the last time I rented a car, it wasn't $20 a day. So, for example, it might be $35 a day, but the insurance company is only going to cover $20. Or some policies out there have a percentage that they'll cover of the rental car itself, and most of them are going to be a max up to 30 days on a fix. Something to really keep in mind for example, if you own a Tesla at this moment. Teslas are having a little bit of hard time getting parts to fix. So a lot of times those can extend longer than 30-day repairs. So just something to keep in mind there, that you might have some out-of-pocket expense coming even if you have the rental car on that side. Also, there's going to be other things throughout the policy like new car replacement. So basically, if your car's within 2 years, you bought it new and you'd like to just get it replaced with a new car rather than whatever the cash value is for the vehicle. So let's say, for example, you bought a 2020. It's going to be, it gets totaled. The value would have been $40,000, but it's going to cost you $45,000 to replace it with the new one. They're going to go ahead and give you the $45,000 if you had that endorsement. Okay, so that's another thing you need to watch for endorsement-wise on what we have. Those things can add up pretty quickly as well, so it's just something to keep in mind. Another big one that we see is medical payments to others. I would highly recommend this. If you have medical payments to others, let's possibly look at if there's a cost difference from going from your current coverage to the next level up. A lot of times medical payments to others is more expensive than going up to the next bodily injury portion. Something to keep in mind on that one. A lot of times we have a customer that might be at $100,000, $300,000 with medical payments of, let's say, $5,000. It's actually cheaper to go to the next level for us at $250,000/$500,000 than it would be to give them the $5,000 medical payment. So it's just something to keep in mind on that one as well. You're going to want to make sure, why would we give away additional coverage for the same dollar amount. We'd rather have the 250/500,000 than we would 100,000, 300,000 with the medical payments of 5. Kind of a no-brainer there, but just make sure we take a look at that on exactly what that's going to be. So that's just kind of going through the auto policy and kind of some of the endorsements and little side notes of all that type of stuff. I'd be more than happy to go over anything with you, whether you're a client of mine or not. We'd still be more than happy to go through and just make sure you get proper coverage. So I wanted to thank you for joining me on this episode of Doing Insurance Right. As always, if you could rate, review, and subscribe to us to whatever channel you're listening to us, whether it be Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, we greatly appreciate it. And we look forward to talking with you in the next episode.